Think about your last salary raise. Not the number itself, but what actually changed after it. For a moment, it probably felt like progress, a signal that things were moving forward, that your effort was paying off. But a few months later, something subtle happens. Your bank balance doesn't look very different. And if you're honest, your financial situation doesn't feel very different either. So what happened? Because for a lot of people across the United States and Europe, a raise doesn't really improve their financial position. It just quietly upgrades their lifestyle. A slightly better apartment, a slightly nicer car, more convenience, more comfort, and over time, more cost. Nothing dramatic, nothing reckless, just small improvements that feel reasonable. And yet, by the end of the month, there's still very little left. No real increase in savings, no meaningful change in trajectory, just a new version of the same cycle. This isn't bad decision-making, it's a pattern, and it shows up most clearly in people who are actually doing everything right, working consistently, earning more over time, building a stable life, but still not getting ahead. To understand why, it helps to look at a simple, realistic example. Imagine a 26-year-old professional living in a major city, Chicago, London, Berlin, it doesn't really matter. They start with a salary of about $55,000 a year. After taxes, that comes out to roughly $3,300 per month. At this stage, life is fairly controlled. They share an apartment, so rent is about $1,200. Groceries and utilities take another $500. Transport is around $300. There's a student loan payment of about $250, and basic lifestyle spending, things like eating out occasionally, subscriptions, small purchases, around $600. At the end of the month, there's maybe $400 to $500 left. Not perfect, but manageable. There's at least some room to save. Now, fast forward 2 years. They've gained experience, they're more valuable in the market, and they get a raise. Their salary increases to $75,000. After tax, that's roughly $4,400 per month, an extra $1,100. On paper, that should be meaningful. That's a noticeable increase, enough to change things. But here's what usually happens next. They move out of the shared apartment. It feels justified. They can afford their own space now. Rent increases to around $1,900. Then comes the car decision. Maybe before they used public transport or drove something basic. Now they lease a newer car. Monthly payment and insurance together about $600. Eating habits shift slightly. More convenience, more meals outside. Add another $300. Subscriptions expand. Better gym, more services, a few upgrades that feel small individually. Another $200. Now look at the updated numbers. Rent, $1,900. Car, $600. Living expenses, about $700. Student loan, $250. Lifestyle spending, around $900. Total, roughly $4,350, which leaves almost nothing. Despite earning $20,000 more per year, their financial position is nearly unchanged. Sometimes it's even tighter than before. And this is where things get interesting, because this isn't really about poor spending habits. It's something more subtle. A kind of invisible system that resets your financial baseline every time your income increases. This pattern has a name. It's called lifestyle creep, and it works quietly. Your brain doesn't measure wealth in absolute numbers. It measures comfort relative to your current environment. So when your income increases, your definition of normal adjusts with it. What used to feel like a luxury starts to feel standard, and what once felt expensive begins to feel reasonable. A $12 lunch becomes a $20 lunch. A used car becomes a financed car. A shared space becomes, I think I deserve my own place now. None of these decisions feel irrational on their own. In fact, they often feel earned. You worked harder, you improved your position, so naturally your life improves too. But here's the structural problem. Income tends to grow in steps. Raises happen occasionally, but lifestyle adjusts almost immediately. There's no delay, no built-in friction, no moment where you stop and ask, do I actually want to lock this cost in long term? And over time, this immediate adjustment cancels out the benefit of earning more. The raise creates opportunity, but the lifestyle absorbs it. To really see the impact, you have to look at the math over time. Take that rent increase from $1,200 to $1,900. That's an extra $700 per month, which doesn't sound extreme, but over a year, that's $8,400. Over 10 years, roughly $84,000. And that's assuming rent doesn't continue rising. Now add the car. $600 per month. That's $7,200 per year. Over 7 years, roughly $50,000. Just those two upgrades, housing and car, can quietly cost over $130,000 long term. And most people never consciously decide to spend that amount. They don't sit down and say, I'm choosing to allocate $130,000 here. They arrive there gradually, one upgrade at a time, each decision small enough to justify. But together, they reshape the entire financial outcome. So why does this happen so consistently? It's not a lack of intelligence, it's psychology. There are a few forces working in the background. One of them is social normalization. You look around at people in your environment, coworkers, friends, even people online, and your brain updates what feels normal. If everyone around you is upgrading their lifestyle as they earn more, doing anything different starts to feel like falling behind. Another factor is identity. As your income increases, the way you see yourself changes. You no longer identify with your previous level, and your lifestyle begins to align with this new identity. Not consciously, but consistently. And then there's timing. The consequences of these decisions don't show up immediately. You don't feel the long-term impact when you sign a lease, or when you swipe a card. You feel it later, when saving feels slow, when investing feels difficult, when you realize that despite earning well, you don't have much flexibility. And by that point, your cost structure is already fixed. It's hard to reverse. If this continues for years, something subtle happens. You become financially stable, but not financially free. Your income grows, your expenses grow alongside it. You maintain a good quality of life, but you don't build much margin. There's limited investing, limited optionality, limited ability to step back, slow down, or change direction. You're not struggling, but you're also not progressing in a meaningful way. And this is where many people remain for decades, not because they failed, but because nothing interrupted the pattern. There is, however, a different way to approach this. Financially aware people don't reject lifestyle improvements entirely. They just delay them. They treat raises differently. Instead of immediately asking, "What can I afford now?" they ask something slightly different. What can I keep the same so this increase actually moves me forward? Because the real value of a raise isn't in spending it. It's in preserving the gap between your old expenses and your new income. That gap is where progress happens. That gap becomes savings, investments, flexibility, options. And over time, that's what changes your trajectory. Not the raise itself, but what you do with the difference. Once you start seeing it this way, raises stop being temporary upgrades and start becoming long-term leverage. And that shift is quiet, but it's significant.
Because most people don't fall behind due to a lack of income. They fall behind because each increase in income quietly increases their cost of living. Not dramatically, just consistently. And over time, that's enough. If this made you look at your own income a little differently, you can subscribe for more.